Welcome everybody to another episode of Fantasy News. I'm here to Shovel Goblin host Daniel Green, and today we have a delicate little collection of fantasy news that shan't be startled. And we're gonna go ahead and jump on into the first story of the day, which is about the Rhaeria revelations, because author Michael J. Sullivan has tweeted out, "Ready for more Royce and Hadrian? Drumidor, the 5th Rhaeria Chronicle, is now complete. No release date yet, but I am very happy with how it came out." Big congratulations to Michael J. Sullivan for finishing another book, and thank you so much for being one of the first authors to ever let me interview them here on the channel. That still means so much today, and I'm excited among all the other fans. And in good news for Dungeons & Dragons fans, in addition to just Honor Among Thieves actually garnering quite the positive response so far from critics, now it has been announced that Joe Manganiello is going to head a live-action series adaptation of Dragonlance. Not only has he been working with Wizards of the Coast to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Dungeons & Dragons. Yes, I am still a bit frustrated with Wizards of the Coast, but this is cool enough to cover it anyway. He has also confirmed that he is heading a project to adapt the Dragonlance to live action for a series. Funny, it was actually all the way back in February that Joe himself said that he was working on a documentary and a TV series, but it took this long for it to finally be confirmed what exactly it is. I have a small feeling he wasn't supposed to reveal that yet. But in our first major story of the day, we need to talk about Internet Archive officially losing its case with Hachette, or essentially the publishing industry as a whole. At first, I think like a lot of people, when I heard that it's publishing industry versus access to books, I immediately sided with the idea of just, yeah, absolutely, access to books. I'm sure that the publishers losing would be the best thing here. Yes, I think ebooks should be made available more cheaply or even free than they currently are. But this was the Internet Archive trying to shatter one angle of the publishing industry essentially overnight. They were taking ebooks and through just ownership of one copy, distributing it to essentially as many people wanted it. This was actually originally just created during the COVID pandemic as just a way to try to get people to have access to books without having to go out during the no-no times. I really feel the need to reiterate here because I know some people are going to come at me in the comments section. I don't disagree with the Internet Archive's goal. I do think lending ebooks should essentially be a free and easy process, especially with the advancements of technologies we've seen recently. It just seems obvious. But it's the fact that the Internet Archive decided to make the case based off of copyright law, which they are clearly violating, as quite literally nothing they are doing is transformative. And with that being their basis of debate, I completely understand why the judge ruled the way he did. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's the reality I want. I'm purely criticizing the approach to trying to affect the change in the long run. The Internet Archive does plan on appealing this case though, and their statement reads as, "Today's lower court decision in Hachette v. Internet Archive is a blow to all libraries and the communities we serve. This decision impacts libraries across the US who rely on controlled digital lending to connect their patrons with books online. It hurts authors by saying that unfair licensing models are the only way their books can get read online, and it holds back access to information in the digital age, harming all readers everywhere." But the judge's ruling was based on the fact that alleged benefits from the Internet Archive cannot outweigh the market harm to the publishers. There is nothing transformative about copying and unauthorized lending. The judge also dismissed arguments that the Internet Archive might theoretically have helped publishers sell more copies of their books, saying that there was no direct evidence and that it was all irrelevant as the Internet Archive had purchased its own copies of the books before making copies of it for its online audience. Now, I get and completely agree with the fact that waiting in line for an ebook feels kind of ridiculous. And the Internet Archive's attempt to just make one copy available to everybody certainly did away with that, but this isn't something that can be just pushed into reality trying to misrepresent copyright law. Laws need to be changed, and I do think in the not too far distant future, especially with AI developing the way it is, ebooks are going to have to be just made publicly available. But it's going to take time, it's going to take new technology, and then things will frustratingly slowly change over for, yes, ebooks being something that I'm sure will just be either like a cent or available always everywhere. Complex thing, and I'm sure there's angles to my arguments that can be proven wrong, and I'll develop my opinion further as more stuff comes out. But I'm just saying, I do understand the judge's decision here. But in some quickie TV show news, it seems that House of the Dragon Season 2 might have its episode count reduced down to 8. The immediate internet meme reaction has been, of course, just like flashbacks to the end of Game of Thrones, stuff like that. There's justifiable reasons that this could be done in terms of trying to focus budget, or maybe the story you're writing just doesn't need that many episodes. At the same time though, yeah, it does make me a little bit nervous. I like more episodes of a show I enjoy, and anything in this area, in the just avalanche of mediocrity we've been suffering in for fantasy adaptations for a while, it can just feel like any news is bad news, but I'm gonna choose to take this as just like a small red flag. A really, really small red flag. It also seems like Ryan Coogler is involved with a new X-Files series. Rosamund Pike was awarded Best Female Narrator for her re-narration of The Eye of the World in The Wheel of Time from the Oddies, which no, I had never heard of before covering this, but congratulations, Rosamund Pike. But while we're talking about Wheel of Time, Season 2 has officially got its Shiriam with the casting of Rima T. Weta. And audience, the rumors are true. The rumors that I never heard, but Scott Pilgrim is, yes, getting an anime over at Netflix with much of the original cast returning, including Michael Cera, Brie Larson, Aubrey Plaza, Anna Kendrick, Chris Evans, and it has been created by Edgar Wright, Brian Lee O'Malley, Ben David Grabinski, and animated by Science Saru. I've admittedly never really been the biggest Scott Pilgrim fan, but the last time I watched it, I was in high school, and I wasn't exactly open-minded to the type of media I took in there, so maybe I need to do a rewatch finally. And in a last-minute fantasy news update, we are also getting a Junji Ito adaptation, specifically his Blood-Sucking Darkness, with Jeff Howard attached to be the executive producer and writer. He has also previously worked on The Haunting of Hill House, as well as Midnight Mass, both things I very much so enjoy, and you might also be familiar with his work on Oculus, which I have not seen, and I don't think they mean the game station. Now, it's too early for us to have anything like a director, but when asked about the series, Jeff Howard said, "When I found out a live-action Junji Ito adaptation was going to happen, I chased after it with everything I had, because I just couldn't live with anyone else getting there before me. The combination of fear and feelings is where I always want to be." And I think that's really cool, and I hope this guy is a big Junji Ito fan. I'm not trying to imply anything by saying this, but just once, I want to read one of these articles and have, like, the person hired to attach be like, "Yeah, I thought it was alright." But I know what you've been lacking in your life. I know what you've been craving. Another massive franchise dropping out a spin-off show or series. Well, guess what? Another one's coming right down the road. Surprise! Because Star Trek Starfleet Academy has been given the green light at Paramount Plus. I by no means have been keeping a close eye on Paramount Plus, but with the amount of Star Trek content on there, it just seems that a whole lot of it is structured around that IP. Reportedly, Star Trek Starfleet Academy will introduce us to a young group of cadets who come together to pursue a common dream of hope and optimism. Under the watchful and demanding eyes of their instructors, they will discover what it takes to become Starfleet officers as they navigate blossoming friendships, explosive rivalries, first loves, and a new enemy that threatens both the Academy and the Federation itself. Now, I admittedly have given the current state of Star Trek a lot of grief here on the channel. It's a franchise I can't help but somehow stay hopeful for, because when it is done right, it is so devoted to logic and debate, reason, and that genuinely thrills me, not only as entertainment, but as someone who wants to see more conflicts in our media resolved, not through like, but instead, I think this could be done in an interesting way where like every year we see a graduating class leave and then a new younger class come in, stay with them for however long it takes to get through Starfleet, and then they end up becoming the graduating class, but by then we've fallen in love with the new crew. You know what I mean? That could be interesting. Like an inverse of one of the core bases of Star Trek, which is like it's constantly new places, new locations exploring, but show us the side of this world that isn't that. Here's where those explorers are trained and the beginnings of their journeys. There'd obviously be episodes where you go off and do crazy fun stuff, but I don't know. I'm not immediately dead inside hearing about this. But this has just been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Check out the latest Berserk read-along where we actually read through the entire most recent Berserk Deluxe Edition. Or head on over to the second channel where Noah and I just talked about Maltese Falcon. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.